You can start, Sia.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Bratschitsch. Right now, I am near Toronto, Canada, and it is 8 a.m. and a very beautiful morning just outside my window. I'm very honored to be here with this class to discuss your communication style. I will be talking about different things, but in a real life application. And I hope that somebody will learn something from this session that will improve their communication style. I will now start with my presentation, and I'll do a share screen. And show from the beginning. This is the graphic that was presented to me. And I thought when I received it, what a wonderful graphic. Because you can see near the bottom half of the screen, there's a person who looks like a manager, standing, wearing a suit and a tie. And there's two people to either side of the manager. And three of them have concerns. And you can see too, they're doing different types of jobs. So it looks like in this graphic, the manager is talking to the group of people using his communication style, but there's difficulties in comprehension. The person at the far left in the white shirt, wondering what's going on. He's got a question mark over his head. The person standing in the t-shirt immediately, to the manager's right or left, he's got exclamation marks. That person looks really, really bothered, really upset. And of course, the woman on the right side of the screen, she's got question marks. She's got no idea what this fellow's talking about or what he's asking for. You ever been in that situation, as an employee, or as a student, or even as a manager, where people are not really understanding or comprehending? Now, there are many different types of communication styles. So if we have 50 people in this meeting, there could be 50 different types of communication styles right now. And for this session, my communication style is going to be different than perhaps 2 hours later when I might be in a meeting that has a different type of environment, and my communication style will be different. The importance is, in my view, is to understand my communication style at the time, what is needed and what works, as it should be for yours, for you to understand your communication style. And I have no doubt you do understand. I'm going to show some information, and I'm going to relay it to personal experience, because that's the best type of experience. I'm not going to be talking about what I read in a book, mainly, or what I saw happening for someone else. I'll be talking about what's been working for me and for many others for decades, for many years. So, as a person, I wonder often, why would my words matter? Who would want to listen to me? Am I talking about something that's relevant to you? Now, from my point of view, I hope I'm talking with you, not at you, not down to you. And I'm going to refer first to the classic Greek rhetorical arguments and the three elements of ethos, logos, and pathos. And this is something that has goes back 2,500 years. Ethos is, do I have the credibility to talk to you about this? Why should you listen to me? You're not going to listen to me if, I'm a gardener, no disrespect, talking about engines. Unless I know something about engines. You want to know that it's worth listening to me. And that's the ethos part, the integrity, the credibility part of the rhetorical arguments. Then there's logos. And what I'm saying, is it relevant? Does it mean something to you? Can you do something with it immediately? I'm hoping you can with what I have to present today. And then the third element of the rhetorical arguments is pathos. Does this appeal to you as a human being? Do you believe this? Are you emotionally attached? Or could you be emotionally attached to something that I'm going to say today? And that's always something I believe that is relevant to public speaking, to private communication, to dealing with people, to achieving results. It's a form of communication style. It can be incorporated into your communication style. This is obviously an understatement. Obviously, not everyone is the same. Of course, in my family, everyone's different. On my hockey team, everyone's different. At work, same thing with you. In your classes, not everyone is the same. And that's of course, it's very important to when we're communicating. It could be one-on-one, or talking to a lot of people at the same time. Not everyone is the same. We all react differently. And I'm going to ask, would your career depend upon your communication style? You're obviously attending university to improve your knowledge, to get yourself ready for something you're planning for, something you're dreaming about. You have aspirations. You want to be someone. You want to make things better for your family. So we can get into your career. And many of us, obviously, we're older. Many of us have had a career or have had careers. So some of us know this. And some of you are newer and you have everything ahead of you and you're anticipating your career. So would your career depend upon your communication style? Now, personally, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to hope to show it to you, but I think you believe me. But I'm going to try to answer this question with another question. Would your relationships depend upon your communication style? And I know, absolutely, would say yes. If you're a parent, you're going to react differently to your child than you would to your neighbor. If you're an employee, you're going to treat your boss differently than you would treat your coworker. And of course, there's family, there's teammates on your sports teams, friends. Our relationships do depend upon our communication style, whatever that communication style is. I'm a business consultant. I have been for many years, 20. And before then, I've been an employee, an employer. I've worked for international companies. I've worked for small companies. And I'm no different than anyone else. I'm trying to earn money to provide a better life for my family and to do things with my skills that I've always dreamed about doing. And I'm happy to say, as a business consultant, it's been a very good run for me. Currently, what I do is I'll be involved in human relations, which means many things. Hire people. And of course, my speaking style will be different. Unfortunately, firing. And of course, that's going to have a different type of style. Suspensions. And I'm a Toastmaster, and I've learned things from Toastmasters that have helped me with dealing with suspensions. We call it a sandwich technique. We're in a situation where something's happened with an employee, she or he's had a bad day. Something has to be done about it, but not to destroy the employee's morale, but to, make them understand what the correct procedure is. And there may have to be some discipline. So I've learned to use a sandwich technique where I will discuss my communication style, in this case, something good about the employee, what has to be corrected, and what I really like about the employee. But it has to be done sincerely, with authenticity. And it takes preparation. And I've been very successful. I can remember a number of instances over probably almost 200 of such incidents. A good number of them where the employee would say, "You're right. Yeah, you're right. I got to pull up my socks. I made a mistake," and the communication style, sharing with the employee was of that nature, where hopefully, it's going to be a win-win at the end. And of course, the employee is going to suffer a little, but we all do. It's part of life. We all make, I won't really want to say mistakes. Of course, mistakes are mistakes. Lessons learned. So in that case, my communication style would be towards lessons learned, not mistakes. And you can really see the approach, but I'll get into a little bit more detail very soon. It's not always that way. I recall a union meeting that I chaired a number of years ago, 350 people, where another union tried to raid it to prevent the elections from happening, so that the first union would not have a slate of officers, would not have an executive, and they could step in. Because this first union had a very nice bank account. No, that's fine. That's okay. I love unions. But it was a very hostile meeting. 30 people had prepared their Robert's Rules of Order, and they knew all the tricks. As soon as the meeting started, they interrupted. They would not approve the agenda. My communication style as chair was a lot different in that instance, as you can imagine. I had a job to do. I had to make sure the slate of officers was elected. Sorry. And I had to make sure that their motions were presented for approval or disapproval. In that case, my attitude, my communication style was very domineering, and in some cases, very hostile. I called the police in to remove 7 people, one at a time. That's what it took. That was my communication style at that time for that particular incident. Now, that's an extreme story. That fortunately does not happen very often, but it does happen. So it's something to be made aware of. Now, on the other hand, I was once parliamentarian for a national women's insurance association. Well, Canada is a very big place, almost 5,000 kilometers across. So, it's a lot of women insurance agents. And I was chairing this meeting where there was a dispute between the people of one city and the people from another city during the budget meeting. I needed to create a win-win situation as a parliamentarian. And I was able to come up with an idea where people listened and they thought about it and they agreed. And I was told later it was the first time their business meeting actually ended on a positive note. There, of course, that might sound to you like a mediation. Now, mediations usually, it's quite often lose-lose. No one's happy. In the case I just told you, it was a win-win. Everybody was happy. But a lot had to do upon my communication style at that time for that situation. I'm involved in management meetings, which quite often can be very difficult. Sales meetings where I have to put on my teaching hat and I have to have a different type of communication style. Many opportunities at work. So you could go into work in the morning, use one type of communication style, and throughout the day, you might have to change it from one to another. If you can understand what your communication style is at that time, you would be able to achieve better results with a few words applied at the right time. Now, here are four extremes. You can tell from the facial expressions what they are. And my question is, how will you deal with this? Whether it's at work, family, friends, whatever. Yeah. The person on the left, to me, it looks like, he's very doubtful. He doesn't look like he trusts me right now. He's very skeptical. So how do I deal with him? What communication style do you use with him? The woman there, obviously, she's not very happy. And she looks like someone that, will be in charge. And she's got demands. How do you deal with that? The next person over, entirely different. He looks calm. He's got a good presence. He feels like, he's in control. He just kind of warms up the room, with a sense of calmness. And then the last person on the far right, he looks, very doubtful, scared, skeptical. If anything, he probably needs a hug. So he's probably more of the emotional type. So how do we deal with these people? One at a time. And then, of course, how do we deal with these people in a meeting where they're all there at the same time? What communication styles do we need to use? This is not a new thing, and there'd be many variations of it, but it's something that I picked up about 40 years ago from a large international corporation that I was an employee of. And they were very heavy on training. And at the time, I was in sales. And they were teaching us exactly this. What communication style do we use if we need to get a sale from those type of people that we just visited a few moments ago? Because if they're going to be buying something, they're going to be buying something from somebody. And my company told me, we're making sure it's going to be you because we're paying you to get that order. So therefore, how do we approach that type of clientele? So this is a typical XY grid. And there's extremes of behavior attitudes. You can read like I can. At the top, there's dominance. And at the bottom, it's the opposite, submission. And on the horizontal line, on the far left, is hostility. And then on the right is warmth. Now, this is a two-dimensional grid. So there's no such thing as a one-dimensional behavior. If somebody is going to be totally dominant, well, they're going to either be hostile about it, or they can be warm about it, but most likely somewhere in between. So you and I, we fit somewhere in that grid. We could be at the very top where it says dominance, but if we're at the middle, it means that we're neither hostile and we're neither warm. We're in between. Or, we could be very warm or we could be very hostile. And likewise, the opposite, submission. Maybe we're not having a good day. We could just be very submissive. But this is a good way to understand the audience, understand the person you're dealing with, so that you could understand your conversation style that is needed, because it's a conversation. You're not talking to yourself, you're talking to someone else. And you would want a positive reaction. So you want something back from that reaction, generally. It could just be friendship. It could be information sharing. You could be asking for a raise. You could be asking your child, to clean up, or your spouse, about supper. It's there. Every moment we deal with people, we have a style. And I know many times I've opened my mouth and said the wrong thing at the wrong time. And I've come across hostile and domineering. But that's how we learn. But I would like to wonder, like I had in my opening slides, do my words matter when it comes out of my mouth? What kind of an impact does it have on the ears that are receiving it? So here is an effort to categorize the behavior generalization. And of course, it's a generalization. It is not a science. Human beings cannot always be pinpointed. Okay. Right now, I'm trying to be a very nice person. I hope you believe I am a very nice person. I hope, but I assure you, I am not a mean person. But you don't know that. So maybe 2 hours from now, I might be a very mean person. Okay, so I'm going to fit somewhere there. And that XY grid I showed you, it had 4 areas, and they're quadrants. And typically, quadrant 1 is on the upper left, and it goes counterclockwise, just for information's sake. So this is an example. So the company I was working for 40 years ago trained me to think, if I'm dealing with a woman who's got her fingers to her forehead and she seems to be screaming on the phone, and it looks like her teeth could just bite right into somebody. Now she's thinking that salespeople are out to trick her, and she feels she's got to control the relationship. So that's her communication style. What is yours, to respond to that? Because she's going to be dealing with somebody, and it might as well be you. Then underneath is practically the opposite. There's that poor fellow again. Poor Jack. He's hostile because he's afraid. He thinks that salespeople are out trying to cheat him, to fool him. And he won't cooperate because he's in the shell. So he's hostile, but he's submissive because he's very afraid. So he's not going to cooperate. But he's not going to push you or me around. He's just not going to do anything. So it's like pushing a wet noodle. We're not going to get anywhere with this guy. But we have to. We have to try. We have to succeed. Then there's the third quadrant. That fellow with the weird hair, and his favorite sweater. He's warm. He's an emotional type person, but he's submissive. He's a pushover. The problem is he's that way for everybody. So he's going to hold off. He's not going to really deal with anyone unless he feels something. He likes to be appreciated. We have to help him fulfill an emotional void. Then, last but not least, is the dominant, warm type of behavior. This is a person, man, could be a woman, of course, who believes that you and we have to try to understand their needs and prove the value of what we're trying to present to them. So he's going to give us a shot and he's going to help us out. But so is everyone else. So the one that has the best type of conversation style for any of these applications will have some good success. Now, please remember, these are the extremes. There's a lot in between. And today, that woman there, she could be very dominant and hostile. Maybe she has a bad day. Tomorrow, her behavior will be different and could call for a different type of communication style from you and I. And this, of course, comes with practice and experience. But it's a wonderful opportunity. Dealing with people can be the most rewarding experience. Obviously, I've referred to communication. And communication can be described in many, many ways. In this case, I'm describing it hub and spoke. Communication is the hub. It's right there in the middle, okay? And the spokes, well, work could be one spoke. And then family, of course, another. And friends. And if you're a volunteer in the community, or playing sports, if you're going to a club, sharing hobbies, these all require communication styles. And being at the hub means you're aware of the patterns and the behaviors, not just of the people you're dealing with, but most importantly, you yourself. Are you aware of your communication style? Where you are today with your behavior and where you need to be, maybe at this moment and later this afternoon, you could be going for a job interview. What would be your communication style during a job interview? Or if you're interviewing someone for a job, what is your communication style for that? And yet you're the same person. I don't want to go through every little detail here. There's some, but there are ways that are taught on how to deal with people. And again, not just for sales, but for life, for living, for enjoyment. Family mediators will be teaching the same thing. Our religious figures, whether they're priests or rabbis or imams, and I hope I pronounced that right, I'm sorry. But, again, they'll have their style, as is fitting. In this case here, we're going back to that woman who's in a dominant, hostile attitude, behavior. So it's recommended that whatever's happening between you and her, that you set a brisk but cordial tone, because she won't put up with much. Aim the benefits at her esteem, but expect open resistance. She's going to reject almost everything you throw at her. If you tell her something, it better be right. You better back it up. Encourage objections from her, because she's going to have objections. She's going to have objections. So if you want to get something out of this relationship, get the objections out so you could improve the relationship. Expect full agreement, at least maybe not right now. And she might say yes, but, yes, but, or she might say no, because. Well, okay, that gives you something to work with. And feel free to let her take the lead. Let her be the boss. It's fine. And we're back to Jack. We have to, make sure things are friendly and relaxed. And he's insecure. So talk about the security needs of whatever he needs, and he'll probably give very brief answers that are not helpful. We got to talk to him about facts, but not overwhelm him, because he's going to think we are trying to overwhelm him. And if he's quiet, doesn't mean Jack is in agreement. He just doesn't want to talk anymore. Obviously, there's not going to be much enthusiasm from him, and we have to keep on summing up. So, Jack, do you agree? So we've talked about this, this, and this. Do you agree? Can we talk about this? So you have to direct, that relationship. And with our submissive, warm person who, needs a hug, we have to be friendly. And we have to address his concerns, his emotional concerns. And he might say yes, 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 just to blow us off. And we don't want to burden him with details. He's looking for trust, somebody he could really trust. And we have to, probe to ask him what his objections are, not to get him upset. We don't want to make him look stupid. And he may be frank, he may not be frank. So we could get a yes or a maybe. And we have to kind of push him. What's the next step? So that it's his next step, and he feels more comfortable, emotionally secure. And of course, this is, the dominant, warm person that, we don't always deal with. We like to. And I try to be that kind of a person, when I'm doing human resources. But I'm actually the opposite when I'm in some meetings, like I've mentioned before, where I have to maybe fire somebody, or if I got a problem in a meeting, I have to be the opposite. But with this particular fellow, with his dominant, warm behavior, the communication style will take the tones of businesslike, helpful. We're working towards what he needs. Maybe we talk about something that's new, he's interested in, to pique his curiosity. We ask him to summarize. So, sir, what do you think so far of what I said? You agree with some of the things? If so, could you tell me? Well, so then he can reinforce what I'm trying to persuade him. Of course, he's aware of it. But if he feels that I am working towards his best interest, he'll do so. Why not? Because if I am working towards his best interest, he needs me, and he'll need you. So we can expect answers from this fellow, or a woman, the equivalent. But we're reasoning. They might say yes, and this is why, or no, and this is why, so that things can still move forward. Well, these are the four extremes, and everybody fits somewhere in the middle, upper part, lower part, left or right, but somewhere. A bit of experience on my part. I mentioned I'm a Toastmaster. I've been what's called a district governor. About 9 years ago, I had to be a steward for over 200 clubs of Toastmasters, of people who are trying to improve their communication skills. And of course, Toastmasters is a worldwide organization. There's many excellent clubs in India and throughout the entire world. And as a steward, I'm not saying a manager, and I'm not saying a leader, because leaders are not appointed. They have to be proven. But at least I can say, as a steward, safely, I had to accommodate the needs of almost 5,000 Toastmasters. So quite often, my communication style would be something that would be warm, but yet, I have to make sure rules are followed, the education program is followed. So to a degree, I'm domineering. That's what's required for that job. Most importantly, my communication style was such that I allowed other people to be successful. And perhaps that's a definition of leadership. I hope so. I don't really want to be a leader, but if I can help others be successful, sure. And so do you. I'm sure you do, because in your families, you have some leadership role. In your friendships, maybe in your sports teams, you have some leadership role. At work. And now everybody's got trophies. You got trophies. I got trophies. Those acrylic things and those plastic things, they're nice, but they're in my garage. Okay, I really don't need them. I have different types of trophies that I prefer. The trophies of developing results from my communication styles, so that I can bring success to the relationships that I'm trying to be a part of. And so do you. As a person, I'm a volunteer on many things. And in Canada, we have something called the Royal Canadian Legion. It's not military, but what we are all volunteers, that we serve those who serve. So in other words, veterans, their families. We remember the young men and women that went to war and died, who came back injured physically and mentally. So we have something that's called Remembrance of November the 11th through the year is actually now going to be a federal holiday where we remember those that have sacrificed for what our culture believes in. We all make mistakes, don't we? This is another lesson learned. And I've been a member of the Legion for many years. I'm an officer, and I belong to the party that carries flags. One thing that's really relevant that involves communication style is that I'm a chair for the Royal Canadian Legion's youth education. I go to schools and I talk to children, students, and teachers about why our young men and women should be remembered and what they sacrificed. And here I am, 67 years old, talking to students in grade 1 and 2. So what is my communication style? What would yours be? Now, if you could be teachers, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or child care workers, you know exactly what I'm talking about too. And here's the situation. This is important. So the Legion does that type of thing. We talk about our communication styles, our culture. And here's a couple of instances. These are the more important trophies for me. Some photographs on the front page of the local newspapers and with children. That just warms my heart. And I'm always working on improving my communication style there. Now, this picture is not what I want you to think about. Here, obviously, you see something what I'm just talking about. What you don't see are the 600 people behind us. I was not allowed to take their photographs for privacy reasons because it was in a gymnasium of a school. And this is an instance where I thought I'd be dropping off some awards at the principal's office and then moving on. But just so happens, they had a very big religious ceremony in the gymnasium with 600 people, all the students from grade 1 through 8, kindergarten actually. So ages from 4 or 5 up to 13 or 14, plus their parents, plus their grandparents, plus their teachers. So you got all that different type of age groups. And there has to be, I can only give one message. So what can you imagine would be a conversation style that would deliver one message to all people? Now, I'm not asking because it's unfair. I trust I came up with something good because it's one of my trophies, where afterwards a teacher came out to the parking lot and said to me, that was a message that everyone understood. So I had a communication style. In that case, I spoke about families, about love, and how when someone would go away, to war, how that affects everyone. And what would happen if you thought, if you came home one day from school, and I asked young children, what would you feel if you found your older brother or older sister had to go to war, or even worse, they weren't coming back, and the kids were nodding their heads, and the parents too, yeah. So, whether it's one person or it's 600 or many thousands, whether it's person to person or social media, the communication styles are there to pick from, whatever suits you and the audience to achieve the message you want to deliver. But you need to know that message that you want to deliver, and you need to make sure it's relevant, whether it's one person or in this case 600. It's a different story. I, for 7 years, was a workshop manager for pain management with the Arthritis Society. And everyone knows what arthritis is. It's pain, whether it's osteoarthritis, I'm pronouncing that wrong, or rheumatoid. Pain, 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 pain. And this was the most difficult volunteer work I've done, because every meeting had people that were in pain and they wanted, instant relief, which is not possible because arthritis is a disease. I was trained by the Arthritis Society to give some ideas to work on mental preparation, exercises, and so I had a different type of communication style. I was instructive, so I was, in a sense, domineering, in a sense, because I am now partaking in lessons and experience and ideas that I have learned about to share with the audience that needs something to improve their lives, as soon as possible. And you could feel, for people in professions that have to deliver bad news, and you're, talking about pain, could be, God forbid, but it's, we face it every day, health. Or it could be about employment, or, hey, we know life, don't we? So pain management requires a different type of conversation style. I received a provincial award. In Canada, we have provinces, not states. And I received a provincial award for sticking with it. And it was a struggle, but they thought I was delivering a good communication style to the audiences for that particular need. And as a volunteer, I like to help the air cadets that we have. And I love this picture because here's 4 young people, the future of Canada, our greatest resource. And you could see that there's different cultures amongst these young people. The person on the far left, a young woman, she's French Canadian. She gave a speech that day in French. And then there's a young man. And what was my conversation style with them? Well, I can tell you, it was very respectful. I spoke with them, not at them. I did not speak down to them. My job was to make them feel good about themselves and about what they were representing. And you can see the looks in their faces. I think, hopefully, achieved that particular day. This is a heck of a story. How do we communicate in a different cultural setting? No matter where you live now, I'm sure there's a lot of cultural diversity there. And there certainly is near Toronto, Canada. One day, I was asked as a Toastmaster to give a workshop to a small group of people at the Young Taiwanese Merchants Association in Toronto about overcoming the fear of public speaking. However, the keynote speaker had troubles in traffic and was stuck on one of our infamous highways that's actually more like a parking lot. And that keynote speaker did not arrive. So I was asked if I could step in as a keynote speaker and speak instead of a small group to a large group of 160 people. And to talk about, not about overcoming the fear of public speaking as I originally planned, but how do we overcome barriers in a multicultural society? Well, of course, I'm not Chinese. I only speak one language. My mom came from Poland. My father came from Slovenia. I grew up in Quebec, which is French speaking. So I had a lot of friends that were culturally diversified. So I spoke for about an hour, came up with techniques. The conversation style in this case was I told stories and then made examples of the stories. And it went extremely well. And I could have gone on for hours because I was comfortable in this case with a communication style that appealed to people. And after that meeting, there was a long lineup of people wanting to talk to me about additional tips. So it was fantastic. Now, we need entertainment. We need sports. And I'm proud to say that I was captain of this wonderful group of hockey players, men and women. This is a photograph of when we won a championship. And we were the only men-women co-ed hockey team in the league that we won. And we really won. It was not a fluke. And yet, I'm a terrible hockey player. And I'm the oldest person. I'm old. I'm 15, 20 years older than most of those people, some cases 30. And I was suffering from gout. So why am I the captain of the hockey team? Because my communication style, because I could deliver messages. I could do things. I could understand. For example, sometimes we had people in our team who resented. We had men on our team sometimes who resented having women on our team. And well, I got rid of them, because, and that was not a pleasant conversation. My communication style was firm, was domineering, hostile in that case. But for them, warm. And he needed me to be captain. And as a side note, some people have told me that moment was one of the most important moments of their life. And actually, two of these people got married because they met each other on the team. Because the communication style I had was enabling to have a sort of a culture of its own on the hockey team. That things happen. So communication styles are important in sports. And I trust you know that. I hope that along this, you were thinking where you fit in. And I'm not, obviously, this is a presentation. And I'm speaking and you're not. But I'm hoping you're thinking, where do you fit here at this moment? And where might you fit maybe an hour from now? And I should ask, where do you want to fit? What do you want to achieve in a personal relationship? And what kind of a communication style are you gonna have? I can't seem to turn that phone off. Where do you fit here? Where do you fit here? Do you know? Think about it. Think about how you can fit in. So therefore, communication is the hub. The spokes represent different things. Family, friends, work, hobbies, you're at the middle with your communication style. And you may have a different communication style for work, for friends. I've discussed it and I have shown it. Where are you today with your communication style for what you want to achieve? Now I'm back full circle. Did my words matter to you? Did anything become relevant to you? Can you use anything from this to improve your life, to make things better for your family, to improve your career, your friendships, to make yourself happy? And if it did, I am very pleased. And I am very grateful for this opportunity to talk, to other people. That concludes my presentation. I'm glad to have had this opportunity. Thank you very much.